developing, F-18 fighter down as carrier moves for North Korea. The USS Carl Vinson, which may or may not have been steaming directly toward the tense Korean peninsula as was insinuated weeks ago, has now had its actual position identified due to a near tragedy for the crew of the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, or more specifically, one of its fighter pilots. According to the Times of San Diego, the pilot of an F-18E Super Hornet fighter jet was forced to eject from the aircraft into the sea while on final approach for landing, but was rapidly rescued and suffered no major injuries in the incident. A statement from the commander of 7th Fleet Public Affairs read, "A pilot safely ejected and was quickly recovered by a helicopter assigned to HSC-4 aboard USS Carl Vinson while conducting routine flight operations during a transit in the Celebes Sea." The incident occurred as the F-18E assigned to Carrier Air Wing 2 was on final approach to USS Carl Vinson, the statement continued. The incident is currently under investigation. The pilot is being assessed by the medical team on board USS Carl Vinson and there are no apparent injuries at this time. The Carl Vinson, which is based in San Diego, had been near Singapore a couple of weeks ago when it was reported to have been headed toward North Korea, but was later found to have first rendezvoused with elements of the Royal Australian Navy for a training exercise. The incident occurred in the Celebes Sea, which is located between the Philippines and Indonesia, a good distance north of Australia but still a long way south of the Korean peninsula. Thankfully the pilot was quickly recovered unharmed and the carrier strike group will be able to continue on their way to Korea. Please share this on Facebook and Twitter to help spread the word about this carrier incident. What do you think of this report? Scroll down to comment below. And below, poll, Trump moves against every Muslim in America. Did you support? The Muslim community believes that women's rights are secondary, actually, not even secondary, they don't believe in women's rights. Did you hear that, liberals? President Trump and his Justice Department recently moved to outlaw female genital mutilation. Better yet, he has already started arresting the doctors performing this depraved procedure. Vibrant Bart. Thank you, Donald Trump. Finally, we can protect our girls from these demented practices. How has this gone unnoticed for so many years? Our former president, Obama, helped enable this horrible practice to infest our great country. Because of his ridiculous policies, we now have entire communities of radical Islam practitioners hurting future American women. Disgusting. Obama's lax policies almost destroyed our great nation, but, thankfully, the silent majority has spoken. We elected Donald Trump, a man who will end this nonsense. Where is the accountability? Why haven't we jailed Obama for this radical Islam nightmare that is plaguing our country? The establishment and the leftist media would never let that happen. The mainstream media just loves to protect this criminal family. It blows my mind. The mainstream media hasn't hired a real journalist in decades. The good news is, we are starting to see the rise of the conservative media. The internet is being populated with actual news, for once. The mainstream media has been on smear campaign by trying to label right-wing media as fake news. We know this is not true because they are the liars, and have proven themselves so time and again. The Muslim community has enjoyed the benefits of a leftist media campaign of tolerance, but we are finally starting to see the truth. These radical Islamic communities are butchering their own children. These are innocent children that had no choice. They were forced into this. The left is fine with this horrific behavior. The left even wants to reassign genders to children before they even mature to adulthood. Can you imagine? A child is deprived of their natural gender without a say in the matter? Liberals are truly a barbaric group of anti-American traitors. What do you think about Donald Trump's campaign against female genital mutilation? Share this article on Facebook and let us know because we want to hear your voice. Alert, Venezuela just committed an act of war against the USA. Trump is furious. Venezuela is proof that socialism does not work. The country has now lashed out against the United States as their economy continues to implode. General Motors is halting all operations within Venezuela after authorities from the socialist government suddenly seized their vehicle production facility Thursday. Via CNN Money. General Motors Venezuela, GMV, has been operating in the country for almost 7 decades, and did not accept the sudden takeover. The socialist government issued an embargo on the company and seized cars and other assets across multiple facilities. General Motors has also lost control of its bank accounts held within the socialist country, blocking them from making any further payments to employees or others. The automaker is planning to take every legal action available both inside and out of the country. However, success is unlikely, as the courts are controlled by judges loyal to the socialist government. The seizure of the factory should act as a warning to all businesses operating in socialist regimes. If General Motors focused on building factories within America and hiring American workers, they would not have had this problem. The Venezuelan government has been acting more aggressively towards capitalist enterprises as their economy is melting down. The country has increased the rate that they are nationalizing businesses, as their citizens starve. The absolute failures of the socialist experiment in Venezuela should act as a warning to liberals the world over. Despite having one of the largest oil reserves in the world, the economy of the socialist country has been in sharp decline over the last 3 years. The economy shrank a whopping 18% in 2016. The populace has erupted in mass protests and riots after President Maduro blocked an opposition politician from holding office for 15 years. Maduro continues to consolidate power, increasingly taking on the role of a dictator. At least 9 protesters have been killed. Venezuela is just the most recent proof in a slew of countries who have attempted socialism, destroying their economy, citizens' livelihood, and freedom. Socialism always leads to economic collapse and dictatorial control. Socialism relies on government-sponsored violence to maintain control, and is inherently anti-freedom. What do you think America should do in response? Please share the story on Facebook and tell us what you think because we want to hear your voice. Just in, FBI admits Russia not behind WikiLeaks, launches manhunt for Earth to liberals. Russia is not a hacking empire responsible for every intelligence link in the United States. Not only did Moscow not hack into the 2016 election, but the recent CIA data dumps by WikiLeaks did not come from Putin's regime, either. CBS revealed the news yesterday that both the FBI and the CIA are investigating the source of the leak from within the CIA itself. Whether or not the source is believed to be an independent contractor or an agent has not yet been made public, via CBS. All along, lax security in the US was to blame, not the Russian windmills that Democrats keep swinging at. The idiotic rot of the left's Trump-Russia conspiracy has totally infiltrated the CIA. For not too long ago ex-CIA chief Michael Hayden told CNN's Jake Tapper that WikiLeaks was working on behalf of the Russian government, via The Blaze. Hayden should have known better than to open his mouth without the facts. The CIA has been hit hard recently by the election of Donald Trump. The spy agency is largely responsible for the deep state machinations against Trump. Most of the plotters are Obama loyalists, while others belong to the neoconservative Warhawk industrial complex in Washington, D.C. President Trump and his supporters represent a threat to both of those forces. Despite all of their hardware and their technological resources, the CIA has proven unable to completely keep its secrets secret. In June 2013, Edward Snowden, a contractor who works as a systems analyst for the CIA, broke the news about the NSA's widespread spying on American citizens, via BBC. Could another Snowden be at work in the agency right now? It seems likely. Such a pattern of leaking calls into question the CIA's ability to effectively conduct counterterrorism operations abroad. According to the so-called Vault 7 releases, the CIA only seems proficient at using nominally private technology companies like Apple and Google to spy on Americans at home and at work, via Value Walk. Many brain-dead leftists and their rhino allies believe that a shadowy cabal of CIA and FBI operatives can bring down the Trump presidency by exposing the president's deep ties to Vladimir Putin and his intelligence services. These clueless talking heads do not seem to recognize that the deep state is nothing more than petty bureaucrats who seem to have a hard time actually doing their jobs. What's the use of leaky spies, anyway? What do you think about this new information about a leaker within the CIA? Share this article on Facebook and let us know what you think because we want to hear your voice. Desperate Copernic reduced to begging for a job, gets best brutal response ever. There's a reason that Copernic has been out of public view for the last few months since his anti-American stunt all last season backfired on him in humiliating fashion. Since the second he decided to take a knee for the national anthem and become the Black Lives Matter poster boy for every single game of the season, his career began to crumble to the point of extinction he's found himself in today. Just when he thought he had taken the last hit to his ego, when not a single team wanted to draft him as a free agent, he just got blindsided by more bad news that he definitely deserved after begging for a job and getting an absolutely brutal response instead. Copernic was reaching a high point in his NFL career when he decided to go low for an entire season and use his public platform to disrespect our country and those who defend it. He didn't think he would pay for it in any way, especially with the support he got from Barack Obama and all of his Black Lives Matter goons. However, now, he's wondering where all of his friends are who once had his back but are now nowhere to be found when he needs them most as an unemployed guy. Nobody wants to risk their own livelihood in hiring for any capacity, as he just learned, in the worst way possible. Citing an anonymous general manager from one of the teams in the NFL's American Football Conference, AFC, told Bleacher Report that Copernic has 3 major points working against him, World News Politics reports. When the free agency first began, Copernic probably just assumed that everyone would have forgotten about his sideline antics. They didn't and definitely don't want anything to do with his anti-American attitude at the huge risk he is to a team's reputation. They aren't just avoiding him because of what he represents and the fact that his playing skill has been on